Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and my review for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yes, this is the 1974 original. I am going to be making my way through the entire franchise, but I will warn you right up front, if this is your favourite franchise, if you love this series, I might not be your favourite person when it comes to reviewing it. I just want to be upfront. This ain't my series, personally. You may ask, why are you reviewing it then? Well, I have my reasons, which will be made clear at some point. But yeah, I do feel like I need to review these before those reasons are explained. But yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. 1974, directed by Tobe Hooper. I'll say this, I do appreciate certain things about it. I'm not just going to completely trash this film, put it that way. But yeah, it follows very much like a lot of slasher movies, a bunch of teens who stumble upon a house that just happens to be full of murderous people, inbreds, a family of degenerates. Now, admittedly, we have to give Texas Chainsaw props for being pretty much the first of this kind that I can think of anyway. But whether it's good or not is a different matter altogether. At the start of the film, we're given this text with voiceover that kind of paints this out to be a true story. About these two people, even though it's actually about a wider group of them, 5 of them. I think it was 5. But anyway, yeah, so it mentions Franklin and Sally, I think, and Sally was the only survivor. But it kind of paints Franklin and her as the main characters, the ones we're following, the ones we should be rooting for. And therein lies the first problem. Now, Sally, I can kind of root for. She's not much of a character, it must be said. None of them are, for that matter. We're not given a great deal of depth to any of them. But she does have a certain strength about her. So, you know, when all her friends go missing later on, she still wants to go look for them. She's prepared to go into the dark woods searching for them, when quite frankly, I'd be sharing Franklin's sentiment and be getting the hell out of there. So, I don't know. Bravery or stupidity? I'll leave that up to you. But Franklin, this is a guy, so he's wheelchair bound, okay? And he's a perfect character that they could have used to make us sympathise with him, to root for him. The fact that he's in the wheelchair, he can't move around fast, especially in the environment that they end up in. So he's someone that you want to root for, that you don't want to get caught, who's, you know, obviously who would be the primary one on the chopping board because he would be the least likely to get away. But instead they make this guy a tool, a complete tool. I do not like this character at all. He's whiny and whingy. He comes out with stupid comments. He's mopey, like he's feeling sorry for himself. It's just, yeah, I don't like the guy. And the performance as well by the actor, who I would imagine hasn't particularly done much more than this. If he has, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't imagine many of the actors in this going on to great things. But yeah, he's just annoying. His performance is really, really annoying. The text and the voiceover that we get at the beginning that describes this almost as a true story, it's in bad taste, I think. One, because it's not a true story. Anyone who thinks it is deluding themselves. Yes, I get that it was based on several different murders and things. It was inspired by several different murders, Ed Gein character being a primary one. But this story itself isn't true. It's kind of played up almost as if it is, for the shock value, and I find that in bad taste given what happens and given that people often come to this for, dare I say, fun, although again that's one of my primary gripes with this film and this kind of horror film, is I don't understand why anyone comes to this for fun. Now, I know I review a lot of horror movies on my channel. I would call myself a horror fan. But for me personally, I prefer horror movies which are about character, which are driven by story, which have something to say. And for me, this is nothing more than an exercise in shock value. Is it creepy? Is it at times scary? Yes, it is. If that's all you want from a horror movie, if that's all you're after, if you just want to be scared, you know, if you're of the vein of movies like Terrifier, things like that, and that's all you're coming for, gore and scares, then this will be for you. You'll probably get a kick out of this. That's not what I come to horror movies for. People will criticize me for that. People have criticized me for that. But I don't think horror is just about scares. I don't think it ever has been just about the scares, or should be. Certainly when you look into the history of horror. But what I think Tobe Hooper does well in this is the way he moves the camera, the way he sets up the tension of things. I think the house that they go into, where this family live, where Leatherface and his relatives live, is really dank. It's dirty. It's grimy. It's horrible. It gives you the creeps, you know, as it should. Yeah, I don't like being thrust into this environment for a good 40-50 minutes. And the last half hour of the film is full on. It kind of just doesn't let up, really. So, once most of the characters have been killed off and you're just left with this one girl, Sally, it is then just an exercise in terror from start to finish. And like I say, expertly handled, I think, by Tobe Hooper. I will give him credit for that, you know, in being able to direct that in such a way of like keeping that tension ramped up, finding ways to just keep you on edge, keep your nerves rattled. The bit with the old grandpa, when they keep trying to put the hammer in his hand and he just can't wield it and he keeps on flopping it, is just quite nerve-wracking, because it's just like, oh man, just one, he looks disgusting, absolutely disgusting. I don't know how this guy's still alive, but yeah, it's the mentality of this family, that they're so deranged, so off the charts nuts, that yeah, you feel there's no way out for this girl, and it is by sheer miracle that she gets out, she survives. But how much of her remains intact mentally afterwards, I don't know. I don't know if we ever get to see her again in sequels or whatnot. But certainly from here, we're left just thinking, yeah, her mental state now for the rest of time would be pretty gnarly, as I think anyone's would be going through this stuff. So, like I say, I get the purpose of this movie. It is one of those horror movies it's a roller coaster ride, the kind that really just keeps going, keeps hitting you, doesn't want to let you get off, and it is just about creeping you out, keeping you tense, making you scared. And I find value in being scared in horror movies, but I also want a reason for it. I want a purpose. I want the film to say something beyond, this is disgusting and we're going to kick your ass for 2 hours or an hour and a half. It's not a very long film, so it is mercifully short. I just don't particularly like any of the characters. I think Leatherface has become an icon of horror. You know, when you think like Freddy, Jason, Michael, and I just don't think he's up there. I really don't. Based on this film, I don't think he deserves that iconic status. He's essentially a child trapped inside a man's body, hidden behind a mask, and the way he just waves the chainsaw in the air is, again, it's almost childlike. So I guess there is a bit of character there. We should sympathise with him, I guess, for being caught up in this family, for being brought up in such a way. But I don't. I should, but I don't, just because of his actions and because of everything that's going on. It's just a dirty, dirty film. It's depressing, it's dank, it's grim. If that is your thing, fair play to you, but it ain't my thing. And I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. Like I say, I think given the budget, of which there was none, I know this was like practically a glorified student film. You know, there wasn't much money put into this. I think that given that knowledge, Hooper does prove that he knows how to use the camera. He knows how to get the best out of, you know, what he's putting on screen. I just don't like what it is that he chooses to put on screen. So yeah, 2.5 from me. But what about you? Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974. What are your thoughts? Leave them down below and let me know. Thanks for watching this video. Apologies to those who love this film. And until next time, cracking.